keep rolling today, same kind of thing. I think I'm a little tired. I thought I was out of the woods on the sickness, but no, I'm still not out of the woods, but that's okay because I like the woods. I've looked at uh, I've looked at survival guides, so I can live in the woods for a long time and feel comfortable. Okay. Uh, anyways, so I do think that if I get to this grid thing, then I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move up. So we're gonna move. It's an exciting day for me because I'm gonna move up from the star of Mixolydian to the star of Dorian, and I'm gonna start stacking nice and easy again. So it'll be an easy stacking, just focusing in on that third if I get to it, right? That I think I will. So that's gonna be my idea. That's the plan. So I'll just warm up here for a bit, maybe turn on, get a tuner real quick. Didn't get much sleep last. Haven't slept a lot, but that's okay. Sleep's for wussies. Oh, fucking. Okay. Now I had the final episode of the Pendragon thing. I watched it, so maybe I was gonna give like the whole series review because I kind of reviewed them, but I haven't really looked at the. I didn't really look at the last one, so maybe I'll give my wrap up thoughts. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but that's possibly I'll touch in on that real quick just to finish that up uh, as my movie reviewing career. I'm jumping into that area of the thing. Where does he go? Okay. So maybe I'll take a look at that. And then, all right. So let me see if I can just noodle around for a bit. So I was thinking if I just create a pattern, I was visualizing the pattern last night while I was hallucinating and not able to sleep. That I was like, what I'll do tomorrow is I'll go and let's try like a zigzag pattern of like on the Dorian, and then I'm gonna go 2 notes per string, but then it's gonna go like back here this way, 2 notes per string like this way, and that gets me right there. And then when I'm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk it back up, but go boom boom here, and then pick up the string above it. So then so my pointer finger will be right there, and then I'm going to go boom boom, and then I'll hit this one on the second layer. I'll go out here, boom boom, and then boom boom, and finish it back off on a Dorian. So the zigzag is going to be diagonal 2 note per string back this way, and then horizontal pointer finger lead charge going this way, but going boom boom to this one up to the top. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Let me see. Maybe I'll do that second part like over here. I don't know. Like once I get down to here, then I'm going to be like, okay, now like my pointer finger will be there, right there. And then I'm going to go like, okay, now we're going to do like a pointer finger lead charge straight up this string. And it's going to go like boom, and then boom. And then I'll put the pointer finger up here, and I'll go like boom, and then boom. And then I'll put the pointer finger up here, and I'll go like boom, boom. But then I'm going to end off like with a Dorian minor maneuver, like right there, boom, boom, Dorian minor. These 3 notes. Okay, so we start off with this going diagonal, diagonal back, and then the pointer finger leads the charge on the D string up to finish it off there. Okay, that's the pattern. I don't know. Let's try that. Where's my glasses? These aren't the right glasses. I'm just maybe I should bring it down actually to here. I'll bring it one more string down to here, and then it like goes to here, and then I diagonal charge, then I pointer finger charge this way, but I'm going to be on the Dorian, and then I end on that Dorian. So then I'll be like, from this string, then I do pointer finger charge, and I go boom, boom, I go here, boom, and then like up here, and then I move the pointer finger up to here, and then I go like boom with my ring, and then up, maybe skipping one like up here, and then I move the pointer finger up here, and I go boom, and then I hit the one up there, but then I end off on like I like shift this down, and I end off with this standard D minor 3-note triad, lean back, triad, lean back, triad, D minor, or minor, yeah, a Dorian triad. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's try that. And do this again. What's it? One thing at a time. Work that backwards. Let me just try this bit backwards. So when I go backwards, I'm going to be down here. This is my kind of my tonic. So I'm going to be like, where's my other green one? Didn't I have two greens? Oh, I have it over here. Anyway, so then I'm going to go back. And I could, then how do I get back up to this position? I want to get, so I could either reach up with the pinky up there. Spidering it, or I like kind of reaching up with my ring finger and then sliding into position going, when I'm here I go boom and then slide this into position here. So I have just, these two fingers. It's not quite the rock and roll shape. It's rock and roll light. You got the rock and roll, but then it's like, it's kind of easier because my pinky is a little weak to use like, it's harder to give up the rock and roll sign that way, but like it's a little bit easier. Like those, I feel like my ring finger's a little stronger. So you look like lame when you try to do the rock and roll sign when you do that. But like practically speaking, I think I saw a question yesterday about like, well, that sounds cool, you're doing it, but I can't get your rhythm down. And like, I totally get that, because, but, so let me give you let me try to address that, because my thought is, this is how I would approach it, right? It's not really, but you could do it, you don't, like, some people when they do, like when they want to learn something, one way to learn it is to try to do it exactly like the other guy, like the person you're watching is doing, which is cool, but it's never something I was really good at. It's not like the thing that really interests me in particular. I have to turn on X. Sorry. Thank you, Nika. Told me. I didn't have it on X, man. I was only going, I neglected. Okay. So to me, that's not the thing that really kind of was interesting to me. It's kind of interesting to me, like what works and what kind of doesn't work, and then just kind of noodling around with what you can do. Even when I learn a new song, to me, it's kind of cool to get it exactly like the other guy did. I'm amazed that people can do that. But I'd rather take it and do what people are often doing these days and kind of make it your own thing by changing it to whatever kind of you're doing. So to me, the point of this exercise in my mind is like that I can choose any notes within the collection of notes, and basically I should be able to make it work. Why? Because they're all in the same collection. So the fact that it's just me, my guitar, I'm not worried about like playing over the top of something else or anything like that. If I'm in one collection of notes and I can go outside of that collection and whatnot, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of one collection of notes, and then I will expand from there. Then I should be able to make it work rhythmically. It would be like, I don't know, like on the piano. It's kind of fun just to play on the white keys, which are all in one collection of notes, right? And the collection of notes at 4 o'clock around the key of C are all the white keys. And so you should be able to play on the piano so you make it where you can still make it sound ugly, because if you play things that are too close to each other all the time, instead of spacing it out at least, a half step, then it's going to sound wonky. But most people don't make it sound good because they're so hesitant, right? They're like, oh, was that off? And they get self-conscious, and therefore you don't. Whereas if you actually just if you just say, hey, look, I know these are all in the same key, I'm just gonna make a rhythm that works, and then I'm just gonna beat it out, and just gonna roll with it, then it'll pretty much be good. I mean, people will argue, well, yeah, if you combine the 7 and the 4, it's gonna sound weird, or the 3 and the half steps and whatnot, and to me, and the argument is that's why you use a pentatonic scale. If you did the pentatonic scale, then that would work, but not the major scale, because the major scale can still be kind of clashy if you do that. But, and I'm not talking major scale, I mean a 7-note collection versus a 5-note collection. See, a 5-note collection, if you use a pentatonic scale, then basically it's eliminating the problematic areas, because for example, the problematic areas are in the square, because that's when the tensiony half steps are, and that's where the tritone is. So if you remove the 7 and the 4, and you just play a pentatonic scale, then you can really get very comfortable rhythmically and whatnot, and never have to worry about tensiony stuff. But the tensiony stuff's kind of cool, number one, and number two, like, that's where the ear comes in, right? So it seems to me like you don't really need to even know that. If you're just doing rhythm and just beating on certain chords that are in a collection of notes, then your ear's going to say, like, if I do something that's clashy, I'm going to come up with a rhythm that will naturally not emphasize that note. It would be good to know why that works that way, and I try to analyze that stuff. But to me, it seems like, yeah, if they're all in the collection of notes, they should work. Something might be a little bit more tensiony than others, and then I'm gonna kind of like what's the guy that said poetry's easy? All you do is you come up with a phrase in prose, and then you hit it, you tweak it with a poetry mallet, bending the syllables and whatnot until you get the length that you want to put it into whatever meter that you want it to be in. So it seems kind of similar here to me, that you're like, okay, I know it all. I'm just going to come up with a phrase that I know all fits together because they're all in the same collection of notes, and then I'm going to come up with a rhythm that sounds good to me. So the rhythm I always use is like, now that's just something that sounds good to me. So it might be totally different for you. You might like a different rhythm. Like, it shouldn't matter what. So to me, it doesn't matter that you're repeating what I'm doing exactly. Like, whatever rhythm that you feel good with, it should work with any. It might not sound like what I'm doing exactly. But you should be able to make it work. So to me, the exercise is, I'm confident it could work. If it's not working, then I just need to beat it with the rhythmic hammer until I get it until it works, right? Because it has to work, because they're all in the same collection of notes. It's not like there's nothing that shouldn't make it work. If something's a little clashy, I just spend a little less time on the rhythmic spot on that bit, right? So that's how I see it, So if you can't, I'm not going to emphasize my rhythm like too much. It's just the natural rhythm that I kind of like, and then later on I'll practice rhythm, right? Just practice different rhythms, which I'm not anyway. That's my thought on that. Let's try to go long on all those now. I'll go long here, and then maybe short here, and then maybe long here, and then short here, and I'll do the same thing. So now you get that third on the tonic, minor third, second modal half step. Well, I didn't write it. I throw in like half steps and like. So let's go back. I'm just gonna roll up a chromatic roll up on all three of them. So I'm gonna hit the one in the middle, just chromatically slide through that. Alright, let's try a joke break. Man, my head. Joke break, and then maybe I'll try to get into the new system, which should be easier because I'm on a new node now. A new node. Alright, so let's see. Oh, man. Okay. Okay. Probably heard me say this one before. I made images out of it now. I came up with it on the fly a few days ago, but I couldn't deliver it well because it's hard to deliver on the fly because the fly wings get in the way when you're sitting on the fly. So it's like a lot of turbulence. So I thought I'd write it out so we can do it while not on the fly. Okay. Isn't it ironic that being super under the weather could lead you straight to being over the weather forever? Being totally under the weather could lead you straight to being over the weather forever, man. I mean, eventually we're all going to be permanently over the weather if we're lucky or gracefully or whatever. But don't worry, the show must go on. The show must go on, which is that's a weird phrase if you think about it. You know, it's kind of an incomplete sentence. I mean, the show must go on. What exactly? It must go on what? The weather? The show must go on the weather. I mean, if the show is on the weather, wouldn't that technically mean that you are now over the weather? The shows must go on the weather, so now the show is over the weather, and it's like, yes, it would be over the weather, but not forever in this case. The show's not over the weather forever because the show isn't like dead yet, but my show might be technically, but not yet. It's not totally dead. The music show just lets us peek over the weather briefly because of the beauty of music, like a little preview of eternity. Just a quick glance. Hey, look, over the weather, cool. Anyways, back to the show, under the weather. You know, meanwhile, you got Hollywood actors saying, I'm under the weather today. And it's like, under the weather, dude, you're sitting poolside at a $20 million mansion being fanned by a squad of pretty ladies whose names I will not even try to pronounce at this time. It's ridiculous. That's the kind of under the weather people would happily crawl under, for crying out loud. If that's under the weather, sign me up. I'll be under it all day. But you know how the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. Except when it drizzles. And in Hollywood, it rarely rains at all. It mostly just mists champagne. Anyways, I wouldn't want to be there anyways, to be honest. It's more stressful than I think you'd think. It's too much. The networking has gone crazy. You can see it in the groupthink. You try to try to network. It's like, oh my goodness, you've lost all because you're trying to get along with everyone and everything, and then everybody goes crazy because they're trying to get along with everything, and it's like, hold on, what are we doing anymore? And then it all goes crazy. All right.
Isn't it ironic when you're under the weather? That someday you'll be over the weather forever. Eventually every single one of us goes floating above the clouds where the wild wind blows. If we're lucky we rise there peacefully, gracefully drifting past gravity. But before that day arrives, my friend, the band keeps playing till the bitter end. The show must go on, the lights stay bright, storm clouds rolling through the night. Laugh at the thunder, sing together till we're finally over the weather. The show must go on, the music plays through the rain and the cloudy days. Just a glimpse of forever when the song lifts us over the weather. But think about it, that phrase is strange. The show must go on, that's kinda deranged. Go on, what exactly, I gotta ask. Is the weather itself the stage and the task? If the show was on the weather logically, then the cast is above it technically. Which means for a moment when the band gets loud, we're dancing on top of a thundercloud. The show must go on, the lights stay bright, storm clouds rolling through the night. Laugh at the thunder, sing together till we're finally over the weather. The show must go on, the music plays through the rain and the cloudy days. Just a glimpse of forever, then the song lifts us over the weather. Meanwhile, out in Hollywood today, some movie star sighs in a dramatic way. I'm under the weather, they sadly confess, while lounging poolside in ridiculous excess. $20 million mansion view, palm trees swaying, sky bright blue. Servants fanning them lazily while they moan about their misery. Now that's the kind of weather, I must say, most people would crawl under any day. If that's what under the weather means, sign me up for the luxury scene. You know the saying everybody knows, when it rains it absolutely pours. Though sometimes life just drizzles instead. A couple gray clouds overhead, but out in Hollywood skies are blue. A different climate all year, where storms don't fall from clouds above. It mostly just rains, champagne and love.
All right. So I was gonna give my Pendragon cycle final thoughts. I don't know. I watched the last one, so I'll give it my final thoughts on it. So let's see. So so I never read the books, but I like these adoptions of books like these, and I think this guy, the writer of the books, pulled in all these different themes. So he was kind of pulling from all over the place. So he kind of combined the Merlin with the history, and I talked about that before. So I thought that was cool. I think he spent a lot of effort on the first few episodes, because I think when this lady was jumping over the bull, and this whole interplay between whether it was the one god and then the bull god, all that kind of stuff, I thought was a really interesting, I think to me, maybe I was more into it on the first couple episodes. I kind of felt like the first few episodes, were kind of interesting just because the setup was interesting, the scenes were interesting, and the whole playing out of the different stories of the Merlin versus the history of Rome and coming into Britain, and then this kind of fantastical thing with the Arthur story, and then he brought in like Atlantis, and I thought all that was pretty cool, and I don't know how it read into the book, but I'm assuming he probably stayed pretty faithful to the book. So, and then I liked some of the actors on it. I thought a lot of the actors did quite well. The lady that was the Atlantean ladies, I thought were really good. The evil lady, I thought, was really good. The lead guy I thought he did pretty good as well. I think this guy did pretty good, but he wasn't even in it that long, and he looked so he was in the first few episodes. So, but I thought he did good. And then these two guys, they looked the part right quite well, but they didn't quite. It's like I'm not sure if it was like them or like the like framing of it that didn't quite land like the way, like I could see what they were going for, but for some reason it didn't quite get it in these later episodes, because the later episodes seems to me they went more into like kind of the standard stuff you would expect from there was less stuff about like the god, like this god versus that god so much. It's just basically you could see one person's bad, we know who the bad guy is, and then the other one's good, and so on and so forth. But there was a story plot of basically like you kind of have like a Lord of Rings kind of story plot. This might be spoilers, I don't know, but where like you've got the Saxons are coming in, the Britons are like trying to get together, and then you've got these other Britons that have been alienated for a long time. So that's kind of like the two sects of the Lord of the Rings, right? Light the beacons, and then are they gonna come? And then at the last minute, the other guys come in and save the day and kind of thing, because they didn't think because they don't like each other and whatnot. So you got kind of that feel to it, and you get kind of like the feel of like a Braveheart thing, where again, like in that sense, England was going in, and the groups, the clans, unite the clans, had to get together to once again try to, because they're all squabbling with each other, which is typical. That's the typical thing whenever you have these kind of invasion kind of things. So you get that feel to it, but there's something, and so it's like it was good, but there's a couple things that just didn't, those scenes didn't hit quite as hard as they would on like when I watch, and maybe it's just because I haven't watched in a long time, but when I watch like the Lord of the Rings, or like the whole Braveheart kind of thing, where they're all getting together and group and joining together about a good cause or whatever, in order to stay unified or whatever. So you get a good kind of feeling of that if it's done kind of right. And I think some of it has to do with the music, because like he uses music that's like I think it was in Heroes, whenever they do something funny, like strange, you get that music that say something strange is happening, which is kind of supernatural, like, hey, something supernatural is happening. But to me, it gives me the sense of it's eerie, weird, like magic, like not necessarily good or bad, right? I mean, so I think kind of like when something like when Merlin's powers are coming out, are they good or bad, right? Like, so you hear that eerie music, because I would assume you would like to say when he's going dark, you'd like to have a score or some kind of text, and I know the budget's not like obviously the same budget. I'm being comparing it to Braveheart and Lord of the Rings. Okay, it's a little long reach with the budgets, but I don't think like the music. I just think the music, like if it was music when he's doing something good, then you would think you'd have some kind of music that would be like, this is good, right? Or like, and then when he goes to the dark side, kind of when he oversteps, then you would think that you'd have the music I mean, I think it'd be cool to have some kind of music that would kind of indicate that, because they kind of ripped off almost the music from Braveheart when they were trying to look at the landscape, you know, because you get that landscape of like Celtic landscape or whatever, and the song was close to Braveheart, so it seems like they were mirroring that almost intentionally. So I would think you would kind of want to mirror like the music of like, this is like when something's good, it shouldn't be like eerie feeling, like I don't know. And so the fight, and so the fight scene, like they had some pretty good fight scenes, but again, it doesn't seem quite as impactful as like as yet. And I'm just trying to think, maybe it's just me, but in like, I think part of it's the actors, of course. I think Mel Gibson in like Braveheart he gets that crazy like, wow, this guy's, he's like, he's kind of right. He's going to unite the clans, but he's kind of crazy too at this, that crazy like he's got that kind of crazy thing going, and so I don't know if that, so I don't think they had anyone that really like the charisma between these two guys as the brothers was, they didn't quite like get that same feel. You could see what they're going for. I'm not sure if it's them or just like the music or like just the feel of it. So they're hitting the beats right, but something could be tweaked, it seems to me, even with a lower budget, even if you don't have like the best actors or whatever. I feel like there's something that could be like tweaked to really make it land, right? To make it stick on a couple of those scenes. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I think some of my favorite actors were the guys that were like the other like group members or that were the leaders squabbling with each other and stuff. I thought those were it seemed like those were some of the better actors that played their part well, and whatnot. So that was kind of good. So anyways, I thought it was. So it seems like I think it was good. It was good that it went and it followed the books. I think it was faithful. I probably more faithful to books. I never read the books, so I can't tell you that for certain, obviously. But and it had like good themes to it and stuff whatnot. And I like the mix of the history and Arthur. That's what the whole Arthur Legends, I think, do good just in general. And I think they got the beats of the story plots that would generally be good, such as you're uniting for a good cause and people are coming together and whatnot. And you had that return. They got the return scene where like these group over here that hated this group over here because the two tribes don't like each other or whatever, but they kind of got over it and they came over and helped. Again, kind of like Lord of the Rings scene where like, the horse people went and helped out the other. Why would I help them? They haven't done nothing for us, right? And then they go over and help them. So that's inspiring. So they got the beats right. I just feel like for some reason it doesn't. It like when the good guys, when the other group came in and united, you didn't get quite that like same feel. And I don't know if it's the music or if it's like the timing, something like on the timing was it. So I'm being overly critical, but that's my. But I think but in general I think it was good. And I think if Mr. Boring looked at what he did here, and then obviously I don't think he's done many of these series before. This is the first big series. I don't know much about his creating record, but I think he can clearly build on it because I think he's got the beats all down correctly. I feel like he just needs to. I feel like if he tweaked the score a little bit more and somehow tweaked like those things where like in the battle where one of the Britons was getting sucked into the Saxon because this lady's mom kind of manipulated him. His mom manipulated him and whatnot, and then he decided to join the good guys and whatnot, and he came in and joined. That should be a powerful beat, and it was, but it seems like you could really get more. I don't know exactly what but it seems like he could get more to hit. That should hit. The whole thing should, if you hit that right, the whole series would be worth watching for that hit, right? There should be like a music and swelling, and like when the other group comes in back in and joins with the new group, it seems to me that should hit like hard. You're like, all right, we're reconciling, and it kind of did, but it's not exactly. It didn't. There's some things that I feel like could be done that could like make it hit harder. So I think it was better than most of the stuff on Netflix, and I think the theme was good. I don't know much about the books, but I like the Arthur kind of idea, and I think if Mr. Boring kept practicing, was able to somehow keep practicing, then he would I bet you he would whittle down and improve over on it. But it's a lot of money to keep practicing with these things. So I don't know. So anyways, I would love to see more of them. But I'm not sure what they're gonna do. It looks. I think they're taking on that other guy that got banned from, the guy that got in a trouble. They basically, I guess you can call it Me Too'd him, but he looked like he was being rough with his girlfriend or whatever, from the Marvel guys. What's that guy's name? But I mean, it seems like the stuff that guy did court wise doesn't seem anywhere near some of the crazy stuff that some of these actors are getting away with. So it seems like they kind of, so they're doing some other project or with that guy, but I don't think Boring is on it, because I think they're basically just partnering up and funding the project and possibly platforming the project as opposed to actually producing the whole thing. That's my guess. So if they do more of that, I'm interested to watch it. I'm interested that they pulled that guy in, the guy that was playing Kane or something. Was it? I'm interested that they pulled him in just out of like, okay, you guys kind of overhit on this guy, compared to what you're doing with other people that are doing worse stuff, considering how it played out in the courts and everything. So, we'll see what happens. I'd love to see more, but anyway, that's my review. All right, so let's go on over here. Back over here. Okay. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna instead of going around the star of G, we're gonna go up to the star of D, and I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna build it up, take from forever again, just going focusing in on building one nodal point at a time as we build like a chord construction. So we're at 4 o'clock, meaning the collection of notes around C. So C is on the 8th fret, or if I'm on the top string, it's on the 8th fret, first string down from the ceiling is our C, I should say. Back to A, that's going to be shape number 1, which you might call the Aeolian shape, or the Ionian C shape, or shape number 1. I'm now going to be focusing in on the first string down from the ceiling, which is a D in that collection, and at 4 o'clock, D is Dorian. So it's the Dorian node. So then I'm going to build a chord on it. Do I need to build a lean back chord? Maybe I should focus first on a lean forward chord or something. Maybe I'll do a standard leaning forward chord. So I can maybe take the 4 right there. Okay. So now we're going to go Dorian and standard lean forward chord. Where's the 3rd? Okay. So then we're going to say then if I'm on the Dorian, I'm leaning forward into shape. If anytime the second string down from the ceiling is Dorian, that means I'm leaning forward into shape number 6, or the Ionian G shape. And if I build a chord from it, I'm just going to take every other modal half step from there, right? Or every other scale degree, that's how you build a chord. So we're going to say Dorian. If I keep it at 2, I'm not going to make it the 1. I'm building a Dorian chord, which is a form of minor chord, but I'm not going to rename it the 1. I'm just going to say the distance from Dorian is the first modal whole step, right? So 1 modal whole step up is 2 modal half steps up. So if I'm on nodal point 2, it'd be 2, 3, 4 to Lydian. All right, so that means that the Lydian then is Dorian's always in all 12 collections of 7 notes. The Lydian is Dorian's first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step plus 1 third scale degree, and it has a short distance of 3 notes away as opposed to a long distance of 4 notes away, which you might call minor versus major. But if you call minor versus major, you're comparing the Dorian to the Ionian as if the Dorian needs Ionian to say how far its distances are. I don't need no Ionian to tell me. Look, Dorian's not even in Ionian's house. Ionian's house over here, Dorian's moved out. Dorian's like, I don't need to be comparing how far it is to my first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree to you. Who do you think you are that I have to name my stuff based on your distances? Dude, I do my own thing over here. So if I was to count that out, it would be 5 notes between the strings, 10, and then shifting up 15 because there's a fault line. So this tectonic plate shifted to the right relative to this tectonic plate. If this is up by 15, then that's over 12. So 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2, which is 3 notes away. So it's 3 notes away if we think about it from the local distance. All right. So what if I just took now let's add the 5 too. Let's just keep it there for a second. This might be a short session. I think I'm winding down. So let's say we add so now and like that's not even a chord, by the way. And if I don't have 5, because under some people's definition, they would define that as not a chord because you need 3 notes for a chord. But you can, under other people's definitions, kind of think of that as a chord. You might just call it like. So under the normal naming conditions, if you tried to name it as a chord, you'd have to, because the chord is stacked in, you have to have 3 notes to stack a normal name. So you'd have to say it by, this is a D, so it would be like a D minor, a D minor drop 5 or something like that, right? Would be the chord. But if you just name it by interval slot, I can name it by point, then I don't need 3. I don't always have to say minor is 3 notes, right? I could just call it a Dorian 1, meaning I'm on the Dorian node. I don't need to say it's a D Dorian because I already know it's a D because I'm at 4 o'clock. That means that the Dorian is D by definition at 4 o'clock. So therefore I can drop the note name and I could just call it a Dorian 1, the 1 standing for the modal whole step. And if I picked it up to the 5th, if I picked up the 5th, then it would just be a D2. And the D2 would be a 3-note chord because by definition, when we build a chord, we know that we just take every other modal half step, or if it was in scale degrees, it would be every other scale degree. So I could just stack it that way with the first number being the number of modal whole steps away from the tonic, which will define the stack. However, the normal stacking convention is we just take every other modal half step, every modal whole step, and then if I want to add to it, the second number would be in modal half steps, so I can add or drop by modal half steps. If you do that, and then you can increase or decrease the octave if you want to by saying raised or minored, which would be to the power of positive, negative, 1 or 2. So that way you would have a coordinate system that would be as efficient as possible, I would think, right? So I could just call that, a D2 chord for Dorian. I'm sorry, D1 chord, Dorian 1 chord. And that would be easier than saying it's a D minor drop 5 or whatever if you wanted to. Anyway, that's my thought on it. So people will disagree with me. But ultimately I'm correct. So it's okay. I will say... Anyway, let's say I wanted to make it, let's say that I want to make the Dorian like Phrygian. So I want to switch it from Dorian to Phrygian. So I have my finger on the star of D, not for Dorian, but for the star of D. Yeah, not for Dorian, but for the note D right there. And then I want to make that a Phrygian. I want the shift underneath it to make it Phrygian. Easiest way to visualize it is say, well, there's one, if that's the Dorian and Phrygian is going to be one modal whole step up, 2 to 3, nodal point 2 to nodal point 3, Dorian to Phrygian. And that's always a 2 notes away. Why? Because the first modal half step away from the Dorian is a 2 note distance. First modal half step is the second scale degree. 2 notes away has a long distance as opposed to a short distance. It always does. Dorian, if you don't renumber the system, nodal point 2 to nodal point 3 is always a whole step. Because whole half, whole half. Because that's why. Because why? Because whole half, whole half. Because that's why. So then if I move this back, then I can move it back 2 ticks. So if now why would I want to do that? Well, Dorian is similar to the Phrygian, except the Phrygian has this minor second. So if I want to play that minor second, I'm basically kind of doing a Phrygian thing. Or Dorian also has a major 6, whereas the Phrygian has a minor 6. So Dorian's a little bit closer to the major, if you want to think about it that way. 5th modal half step, 6th scale degree. So we could do that. Now I might, the 2 ways I would want to think about that is like, well, if I'm building a chord that has that half step in, maybe I don't want to change my thinking of the perspective from 4 o'clock. I want to stay in 4 o'clock. I just want to build a chord that has a Phrygian shape on it. Well, then I could name that under this kind of system. I could just say, well, look, I'm not going to change like the key signature. I'm just going to call the chord a Dorian/Phrygian chord. It's a Dorian/Phrygian, 4-note chord or whatever, right? It's a Dorian/Phrygian to add the add 1, the first modal half step, right? Because that'll have the minor second to it. That'll be the thing that's different. So I could do that because then I can tell people this. I'm still visualizing myself in this collection, but I'm putting on that peg of Dorian a shape that's not a Dorian shape. It's a Phrygian shape. Or you can name it, if you just see that half step, you just want to grab that half step, you can just add that half step from the perspective of the Dorian. Meaning if I somehow added a half step, it would be a Dorian 1 and then add the 1.5, which means the 1 in the ocean, right? Add the 1.5. It'd be a Dorian 1, which would be 1 modal whole step up, add 1.5. Dorian 1, 1.5, right? So anyways, so you could do it either of those ways, or you can switch the naming convention so that I want to tell people, no, what I'm doing is I'm switching my key signature back 2 ticks to make that nodal point no longer Dorian, but now make it a Phrygian nodal point. That means you're changing the whole shape. So that means it's going to go 1, 2, -2 back, going from 4 -2 to 2. So there it is. So now I'm saying, okay, yeah, I'm visualizing the whole shape as though that is now Phrygian. It's a whole new peg altogether. I'm not just putting a Phrygian shape on a Dorian node. No, we're now in the collection of notes around 2, which is A sharp. You can see by the A sharp right here, that's where the Ionian is. All right, so that's going to be the idea. If I bring that back out to 4, so then I can say, okay, well, what if I don't know it by that shape? Now, what if I know it by where the shape is up top? Like here's the shape up top, like right here. I'm sorry, right here. There's the Dorian shape, right? There's the Dorian shape. So I know this shape, which I call shape number 3. You might call it the Dorian shape, or you might call it the Ionian D shape. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Could I play this? Wait a sec, but I want to make it Phrygian. I'm trying to change it to Phrygian. So here's the Phrygian. So there's the Phrygian. That would be the shape number 4, the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape. If I was to play it, I can see it over here. So I can say, let's do it here so I don't have that open string messing up my fingering. 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. I want to stop at 3. Could I play this Dorian as though it was that top string of shape number 4? I could, right, as long as I account for the kink in the tuning, which is less of a problem because that's a ways down. I might not even get there, right? So it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Didn't even have to change for the kink in the tuning. Okay, so that's cool. Why does that work? Because that would be like if I shifted this down and then over. Meaning if I shifted it down, it would be either 1 tick down is equivalent to 5 to the right or 7 to the left. Let's go 5 to the right. And then say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left. 5 to the right minus 7 to the left is -2. And so it's going to be is -2. So if I'm at 4 o'clock, 4 minus 2 is 2. Did I get that right? Hopefully that came out right. I don't know. I'm just gonna think that was right. So now when I change it, like I'm visualizing now that this is moving down, boom, and then across this way. As that moves down, this string is crossing the fault line, so it's going to shift to the right and then to the left. So it's going to shift to the right because it crosses the fault line, and then it's going to shift to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which means it has a net shift to the left of 7 minus 1 or 6. All right, so boom. There it is. All right, let's say we go back to 4 again and say the other place I can see that is those are the best ways to see that. Okay, let's go back. 2. All right, so now I'm looking at this shape, which I would call shape number 2, or the Ionian E shape, right? Or the Locrian/Ionian shape. Okay, and so now notice I have the same relative positions. So before I was on a Dorian on this string. So let's go back here. Here's the Dorian. I'm trying to find one on the same string. And Dorian, so the relative position of the Dorian would be here, right? So you have the same relative position because the distance is basically the same when I go to the first modal half step, second scale degree. So let's just analyze that. So now I'm on the Phrygian. The Phrygian's first modal half step times 2 second scale degree, first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step plus 1 third scale degree is always the Mixolydian, which has a same relative distance as the Dorian's first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step third scale degree, but the Dorian's is always the Lydian, right? So if I can memorize these relationships now that I have a numbering system that doesn't change, which could be useful, right? I mean, that would be a nice thing to be able to just crank out. So there we have that. We have the same relative distance. Let's just check it out this way. And okay. So now we're gonna say, okay, so here's the planet. We have the fretboard on top of it. We're at 4 o'clock. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth fret up. Second string down from the ceiling. Puts our finger on the star of D. The star of D. Okay. So now if it's on, so now I want to make it Phrygian. So the easiest way to see it is, well, the Phrygian is going to be one modal half step up from that in the current collection. So I can kind of visualize this as though it's that shape. This shape is leaning forward into shape number 2, which is the Locrian / Ionian shape, or the Ionian E shape. So I need to move it back 2 ticks. So if I move it back 2 ticks and I'm at 4 o'clock, that's going to go back to 2 o'clock, which if I label the notes A is 1, then it's going to be 2 o'clock, then A sharp is 2. So I'll bring that back. Boom. Okay, now something happened. It's not stuck to something's happening. Hold on. When I fixed this yesterday, this should be grouped to that and that. Oh man. Come on. You're making me look bad. And group. Okay. There. That's how it should go. Okay, so I'm going to move this back 2 ticks, but boom. Okay. From the perspective of the yellow. I didn't make you look bad. Your face makes you look... Okay. This is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First string down from the ceiling is now the Phrygian, leaning forward into shape number 2, Locrian / Ionian shape, or the Ionian E shape, moving it back. Okay, what if I only know it from the top shape? Here's the top shape. Here's the Phrygian, leaning forward into shape number 4. Yeah, shape number 4, Phrygian / Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape. So I can move this down 1 tick and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks. And so 1 tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right or 7 to the left. I'm going 5 right. So it'd be 5 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So that would be 10 ticks to the right equivalent. And 10 plus 4 would be 14. 14 minus 12 would be 2. So we get to the same spot. Boom, boom. So now I'm going to say, okay, now from the perspective of the yellow, we are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets up, first string down from the ceiling, leaning forward into what I would call shape number 2, the Locrian / Ionian shape. And you have the Ionian E shape here, which you can see, you can kind of visualize as though it's the top string of shape number 4. Okay. Now I can also see it from over here and measure it that. Let's finish this off. I'm winding down quick here. So we're gonna say, okay, look at it this way. So now I have all of my stars over each of the 7 continents and 7 oceans, noting that is not guitar centric. Okay, it's not guitar centric. I want to reiterate this because people try to say it's like guitar centric, and the people trying to say it, like, let me just, okay. I would not do that, make the whole system, because it makes sense that you have the notes going this way and then the perfect fifth and perfect fourth going up and down. That's just a normal grid, okay? It's not guitar centric. I wouldn't do that, piano people. That would be rude if someone did something, if they made their whole system based on like one instrument and then like forced everyone else to do that, even though it doesn't like work. It's not like the same. This is like more. This is like any instrument. Uh, okay. So, anyways, this constellation is the guitar centric part, but you could put any constellation on top of the stars which are representing the strings for me, but they represent just the platonic space of the notes, which it just so happens the guitar better simulates than say the piano. I'm sorry, it does, because the piano has keys that are not the same shape. All right? So if you're gonna map out the platonic space of the territory, it just happens to map better onto a guitar grid than a piano grid, okay? That's just like math, man. It's not like anything like okay. Anyway, so the top E string is the open E is nodal point number 3 or the Phrygian continent. Open A, nodal point 6 or the Aeolian continent. Open D, nodal point 2 or the Dorian continent. Open G, nodal point 5 Mixolydian continent. Open B, nodal point 7 Locrian continent. Open E, nodal point 3 Phrygian continent. We're at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth fret up, third or second string down from the ceiling, which means my finger's on the star of D now. Star of D from space underneath the continent being the Dorian continent. Continent number 2. We named the 7 continents. That's continent number 2. We're leaning forward into shape number 1, which you might call the Aeolian shape or the Ionian C shape. So then what I want to do is make this thing shift so that D is now going to be continent 3 or the Phrygian underneath it. So one way to do that is to look for the Phrygian in the current collection of notes right here. It would be leaning forward into shape number 2 or the Locrian / Ionian shape or the Ionian E shape. Move it back 2 ticks. So if I'm at 4 o'clock, that's going to take me to 2 o'clock because that C is going to go back 2 ticks to A sharp. And that's if I number the notes, then that's 2 o'clock, back to 2. So there we have it. So now from the perspective of the yellow, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth fret, first string down from the ceiling. My finger's still on the star of D, but now the continent has rotated counterclockwise. Can this Earth spin backwards? Well, yeah. In our analogy, it can, because it's like a video game. Like, so you can like get a magic spell or something and spin it back, like Superman, like flies around it real quick and it goes backwards. But time doesn't really change in this one. It just makes the world go backwards real quick. So that's how you do it. So now if I lean forward, you can see now that we're in shape number 2, Locrian / Ionian shape, and the Ionian is on A sharp because we're in the collection, we're on the 2 o'clock, and so there it is. So then if I go back, I can also do it by I can also be like, okay, what if I know the shape from this Phrygian? I know this Phrygian leaning forward into shape number 4 or the Ionian C shape or the Phrygian / Lydian shape. Can I play that star of D as though it's the top string of shape number 4? Yeah, you kind of can. You don't even have to account for the kink in the tuning. Why? Because it doesn't get down to the kink in the tuning if you're only playing 1 octave up. So if you want to keep on going, you have to count. But anyways, so why does that work? Because that would be like if you went like 1 tick down, which is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right, because the guitar is tuned in the very natural way that you would expect perfect fourths and perfect fifths for the most part. Circle of fourths, circle of fifths. Maybe you've heard of it. It's not guitar centric. It's just guitars tapping into like and then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. So that's going to be 5 down, 5 to the right is 10 total. And if I'm at 4 o'clock, 4 plus 10 would be 14, which means we rotated the Earth more than a whole spin, because it would be 14 minus 12 because there's only 12 rotations in our planet. And so then it would be like 2. So that once again gets us to 2. Okay. So let's do that. Boom. And you can see then when we do that from the perspective of the orange, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret up, 2nd string down, still finger on star of D. Finger hasn't moved from the string, which is the star of D, but leaning forward now into shape number 2, the Locrian / Ionian shape, which you might call the Ionian E shape, or we're in the collection of notes around 2 o'clock, which means A sharp. The Ionian's on A sharp. Watch out for that A. It's sharp. Don't cut your finger. Don't cut your finger. Look at the tip. Look at the tip. It's been honed down. It's A sharp. Okay. I'm gonna noodle around for a little while.